Welcome, friends! You are now watching the first part of a two-part video detailing every single V-trigger in Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. Now, with the release of the Arcade Edition, every character that was released up until this point got a new V-trigger. That's 28 new V-triggers across the board. And of course, with Sakura coming out the same day, she has her own V-triggers and things like that. Now, this being the Arcade Edition, there are 5 other characters that are going to be released. Blanca, Falk, G, Cody, and Sagat. Not necessarily in that order. But, because they are coming out after this video goes up on January 31st, I'm making this on January 30th just because for timing reasons and work and stuff, they will not be in this video, nor will they be in their own little update video. You will see both V-triggers in their episodes of Shoryuken Saturday, which I have basically brought back as a monthly series to cover the new characters. Seriously, this series will just never want to die. And in the theme of things that never want to die, the Ultimate Arcade Edition will indeed be coming back to the channel. It's going to be quite a long series, though, as there are 200 arcade endings in Street Fighter V, because there are 6 different arcade modes, one for each of the core Street Fighter games. Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 4, and of course, Street Fighter V. Now, something to keep in mind about all of that is that something so gargantuan obviously is not going to be done in one stream. I would probably lose my mind and probably die in the process. So, bearing that in mind, I will be doing it in basically weekly, every Saturday that I can, until I get every arcade ending and show you what's the what there. Now, for some of you who have wondered about the upgrade in the War Room and why I'm not using Premiere Pro for this, and instead of Share Factory, well, it's because the Share Factory is just easier to use, and this is just easier to use because there's less stuff that I'm able to do. If this was in Premiere Pro, I probably would have taken several hours to do. One other thing to keep in mind, though, is that because it's in Share Factory, I had to split it up into 2 parts because of Share Factory's 50 clip limit, which is probably the biggest pain in the ass of this whole shebang. And in case you're wondering why all my videos aren't Premiere Pro productions, it's just, again, easy convenience, and I really want to separate my bigger videos like the War Room and any future skits and theory videos like the Chamber of the Wraith, which I will be doing one at some point in February, I promise. But I want to keep those kind of separate so that I can be like, oh, I put a lot of effort in this, you guys really want to check it out, whereas some of the other things are kind of just standard quid pro quo type things. But also because this is just a V-trigger showcase, I didn't really see the need to bust out Premiere for this one. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the second part, which will be uploaded on the same day. And as always, don't forget to be awesome and feel free to suggest your own theories, like video game theories of any kind, in the comments below. Thanks for coming in, and as always, DFTBA. I said that already, but you get the idea. One thing to keep in mind is that I will not be calling out these V-triggers by name, I'll just explain what they do. Sakura's V-trigger 1 augments her Hadouken, allowing it to go full screen regardless of charge, and allowing it to charge up in order to land 3 hits, instead of the maximum 2 that the normal charged Hadouken will unleash. This does prevent you from using your EX Hadouken, but you can use a fully charged Hadouken to continue combos. Her V-trigger 2 is somewhat similar, but it augments her other key special moves, her Pseudo Tatsu and her Shoryuken type move. Her Pseudo Tatsu becomes more Tatsu-esque and turns into a launcher, although I'm not good enough with Sakura to be able to do any sort of base combo thingies. And her Shoryuken becomes like a Shoryu Reppa type thing, which does a little more damage and inflicts quite a bit more stun. Which keep in mind, this V-trigger also removes the EX versions of both the Tatsu and the Shoryuken while it is active. Ed's first V-trigger is a Psycho Power infused projectile, which hits multiple times and travels very slowly across the screen, allowing Ed to kind of follow with it in order to unleash hell with such a powerful technique. And it does eat up projectiles as well. His second V-trigger is an enhanced version of his V-skill, the Psycho Snatcher. This version allows Ed to use the enhanced Psycho Snatcher to launch into an attack and keep up pressure. And the aerial version brings them right back down to earth with an extra strike. Next up, we have Minot. Her first V-trigger surrounds herself with 6 orbs mapped to each of your main attack buttons. Press and then release them in order to fire each of the orbs in light, medium, and heavy sort of orders, and depending on which side. The right side are kick-based, and the left side are punch-based. And you can use taunt in order to launch all 6 of them at once. Now, her second V-trigger is very similar, but you have to fire them at different with different versions of a new command, allowing you to either fire them straight as 6-hit projectiles, catch opponents from the air, or splash down onto opponents in order to smash them around. And yes, you can actually use your V-skill and a couple of other tactics in order to start a combo with these orbs in order to do some serious damage. And in case you're wondering if it's possible to land super with these orbs, you can't. I tried several times, but it seems impossible for you to actually land a super. But you can land her anti-air grab off of an upwards V skill into anti-air orbs into the thing. Now, Akuma's V-Trigger 1 augments his Hadoken, or his Go Hadoken, his Zanku Hadoken, and his Go Shoryuken moves, allowing them to do more damage and have new properties and such. It also allows him access to the Raging Demon's critical art, which, as everybody knows, the Raging Demon is one of the best super moves in the game, bar none. But it does cost both your V-Trigger and all 3 of your bars, so make sure that you use this to kill the opponent. His V-Trigger 2 is also augments several of his moves, but in a different way. It allows Akuma, instead of straight up augmenting his normal moves, he can use Shoryuken and cancel with some of his V-bar into EX Tatsu without using any bar. So this essentially allows Akuma to cancel into certain moves in order to get longer combos, which is usually only possible with bar. And he does lose access to the Raging Demon. Juri Han's first V-Trigger revolves around her sort of... I don't know exactly how to describe them. She can charge up certain kinds of moves and store them for later use. A low projectile, an axe kick, and the double kick, which you saw. With the V-Trigger active, however, she uses the V-Trigger bar instead of whatever charge she has built up in order to utilize these attacks, basically getting them for free. The EX version still comes out and doesn't cost any of the V-bar, however. Her second V-Trigger is very cool. Not only does it do a little bit of damage once it's active, but it steadily drains the opponent's EX bar. It can drain up to 2.5 bars of EX power. It doesn't seem to work on jumping opponents or opponents caught in a throw, but it will temporarily work on some opponents that are on the ground. Ibuki's first V-Trigger revolves around the bomb, which has 3 different settings for times when it can go off. A medium time, a short time, and a long time. All 3 of these bombs can be kicked around by either the Ibuki player or the opponent, and it does OTG. Her second V-Trigger revolves around a giant shuriken that she can use to extend combos and unleash very dangerous amounts of pressure. Alex's first V-Trigger allows him access to a powerful armored clothesline, which can be comboed into the backdrop. Now, you can also release it early in order to get a quick surprise, but this thing isn't going to be anti-airing anybody. Not that it really matters anyhow. This thing is fast and very powerful, and I believe at full charge is actually unblockable. Now, V-Trigger 2 gives him access to a DDT lunge. It doesn't work on opponents that are already in hit stun or are airborne, but from my understanding, is either unblockable or still very dangerous on block. It has very nice range and obviously allows Alex to do a little bit of extra damage. Just remember, you're not actually going to be anti-airing anybody with this thing. Now, Rashid His first V-trigger is this big tornado, which has 3 hits, can absorb projectiles, and is basically impossible to jump over. Rashid can jump through it no problem, and his V-skill jump gets much more range, allowing you to set up deadly combo opportunities and unpredictable bouncing around with Rashid. His second V-trigger augments his wind projectiles, making them bigger and automatically giving them more hits. The EX version of the whirlwind launches opponents high into the air, allowing Rashid to follow up with lethal combo potential. This is probably one of the best second V-triggers I've seen so far. Now, Lara's first V-trigger augments her elbows, her V-skill axe kick, and her lightning projectile, although neither of those actually cost V-bar. It sticks around for a while as a result. And these moves also build up more stun and do a little more damage, which is great because if Lara gets you stunned, she's going to rock your face right into the dirt. Now, her next V-trigger is actually quite interesting in that she gets a dodge. She can dodge moves, but keep in mind that there is a window where you can hit her out of it. And you cannot dodge throws. Any sort of command grab or standard throw will hit the opponent. Although unfortunately I did not test this, from my understanding it will also dodge projectiles like Hadoukens and stuff. Still pretty useful. Next up, we've got Zangief with the Vacuum Cyclone. You can use this as a means of pulling the opponents into a lethal combo and then connecting with either Light or EX Borscht Dynamite, the air command grab, or you could just tap it to pull them in order to set up your lethal strikes and command grabs and such. His second V-trigger augments his full circle command grabs, his spinning pile driver and the Borscht Dynamite. I did not test if it augments. I don't think he has the other command grabs in this game, but keep in mind I haven't played this game in a while, so you may have to do a little bit of labbing on your own. So apologies if it isn't complete 100%. I just wanted to kind of showcase some of what these things are capable of. Thank you, Telephone. And in case you're wondering, yep, the damage is augmented, even potentially matching EX command grabs. Rainbow Mika's first V-trigger has her call in Nadeshko, either immediately or after about a 60-frame delay, allowing Rainbow Mika to set up some deadly combo opportunities. The belly flop does kind of OTG, but it doesn't really work on throws very well. So you don't want to do your standard throws, or your command throws if you want to use Nadeshko. Set up for dangerous situations instead. Now, the second V-trigger that she has still calls it Nadeshko, but she'll either throw a chair or run at the opponent, bash him in the face with the chair, and then throw it at them again. Now, it all depends on whether you hold it down or not, which version of the chair you get. And using the 3-hit version allows you to set up for pretty nice combo opportunities. Chun-Li's first V-trigger augments all of her attacks to have an extra hit, but not necessarily increasing damage. This allows her to create dangerous block situations, and allows her to pull off combos that are not normally possible otherwise. This V-trigger doesn't really last very long in comparison to Lara's augment, but this is still a very dangerous attack which can really rack up the damage if need be. Thank you again, Telephone. And her second V-trigger is Kakosho. This is a move that she has had for a long time, but is making its debut in Street Fighter V as a second V-skill, or V-trigger, sorry, that upon activation and multiple usage can be used to set up combos like this. Pretty dangerous, I would say. And Karin's first V-trigger gives her access to a flurry of punches which can be cancelled into a backdash type move or another strike. Keep in mind that some of these moves, like Chun-Li's Kakosho or Lara's dodge, make use of the actual V-trigger command again. I'll probably have to you'll have to experiment in order to check it out. Now, with Karin's second V-trigger, it's actually a counter, but I figured that instead of trying to do it on my own, because I usually suck with counters, except for Ryu, which I'll actually be showing, you can actually see a proper demonstration of how this counter is supposed to work via the AI, because the AI is obviously way better at being Karin than me. So, I'll be back once this demonstration is done. we're back! Ryu's first V-trigger allows him to augment his Hadokens and Shoryukens with electric energy, applying a little more stun and more damage, and making the Hadoukens travel crazy fast. The Hadoukens can be charged, and if they're fully charged and the opponent is blocking, it will crush their block. The EX version charges much faster than the non-EX version, and of course, unleashes quite a bit of damage, even more so than the heavy fully charged Hadouken. And when you have the first V-trigger active, and you perform a super move, it becomes the Denjin Hadouken, which applies a lot of stun and a lot of damage, and will guard crush, allowing Ryu to get in. And yes, this is a very powerful super, as it costs both of those bars, and it replaces the Shinku Hadouken. Now, Ryu's second V-trigger is kind of like a combination of Ryu's base parry V-skill and a focus attack, allowing Ryu to parry an attack, focus attack, and then unleash an attack afterwards. But one thing to be wary of, like all counters, this one, if you are too early or too late, you will be blown up by a crush counter, so be forewarned. Now, the final V-trigger we're going to be talking about in this video, as this is still just part 1, is Nash. His first V-trigger is kind of a teleport rush that allows him to teleport immediately behind, above and behind, or above and in front of the opponent, allowing for potential combo opportunities that will really wreck the opponent's day. And by wreck the opponent's day, I mean, imagine killing somebody with this, just randomly. That would probably suck and make their day no bueno. Now, the second V-trigger that Nash has is this Stealth Dash, a rushing dash which covers a pretty sizable distance and can be augmented into a kick that launches opponents high into the air, or a punch slam, which really brings the pain. The Stealth Dash and the Leaping Punch are both fully projectile invulnerable, so no projectiles are going to stop you from using this attack. That's it for the V-triggers thus far. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to stay tuned for the next video, and as always, DFTBA.